welcome back to PSA TV. This is the Wake Up Call with me, Christy Kali Singh. Joining me on the phone right now, I have the branch president of the OWTU Unilever Caribbean, Mr. Neil McEachine. Do I have that name correctly? Mr. McEachine?
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. McEachine. Do I have that pronunciation correctly?
It's McEachine, but that's fine. I'm not offended by McEachine.
McEachine. I'll get it. I'll get it. Trust me, I'll get it.
Yeah, not a problem.
How are you this morning?
Well, I'm fine, and just want to say good morning to yourself and to your viewership or listenership. I think you're an online network.
So it would have been brought to my attention that you all are in some, maybe facing another retrenchment.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes,
Tell me about that.
Okay, so recently, about a month or so ago, the company would have, by writing, requested a meeting with our representative majority union, the Oilfields Workers Trade Union. And the context of that request was to engage in a process of consultation. And this consultation is provided for in our collective agreement, and it is triggered if the company is contemplating a reduction in its permanent staff. In other words, if the company is contemplating, thinking about retrenching persons, that process is engaged. And so they signal to the union that they wish to engage in that discussion. And as I said, it started about a month ago, and we've had about 4 meetings subsequent to that.
So what exactly is the retrenchment going to be based on, or the, cutting back on staff?
Okay, so the company have presented information in which they have identified a number of things. The fact of the matter is, and one is not challenging that, the company's general business performance has declined. As workers, we would have noticed that quite some time ago, right? And we, in fact, would have been seeking to engage with the company. What we did is that there's a process internally that we call non-crisis meeting. And this is where the union and management meet. When I say union, I'm talking about the branch representatives because it is localized, right?
Yes.
So we meet on a monthly basis to address issues that are not contentious, right? Issues that we can mutually work together on, right? And so we would have noticed from our observation, because quite a bit of us have worked for the company for very long periods of time. I myself have been with the organization since 1992. And so recognizing that there was a change in what we understood normal business to be, we would have approached the company seeking to engage in dialogue to identify how we may reverse that trend, how we may identify what issues that we can lend our support to change the fortunes of the business, so to speak, right? The company really were non-committal. They gave basically lip service. We would have actually submitted comprehensive proposals, or if you may wish to say suggestions to the company for their consideration that we could discuss. Nothing ever really materialized from that. And subsequently, as a matter of fact, the union wrote the company seeking a meeting to discuss the business of the organization. So when we, in a local context, wasn't getting traction with them to engage in this discussion, we would have notified the union, listen, there may be need for some intervention here. Things are going in a way that we anticipate will have a negative impact on the business. And we are inviting the union to engage with management. Right?
And did they accept any invitation to do so?
So, interestingly enough, the company initially wrote the union advising that they were not prepared, that they needed to prepare themselves to engage in that discussion. And so we began to hear talk. We began to pick up, as people say, rumors, right? That there was some imminent situation that would have seen workers retrenched. And so we approached the company and we actually confronted the very highest office with that particular situation. And they denied. And then, strangely, about a week after, the company wrote to the union, inviting the union to engage in the process that I alluded to earlier. Now, they have premised the need for this quite significant and drastic action on the fact that their business performance has declined, and they cited specifically reduced consumer demand, the aggressive entry of low-price competitors into the market, and some of the factors which have placed the company in the position that they are. I unfortunately at this time I don't have the financial information before me because, as I would have mentioned to you earlier, I was about to engage in something else, and so I don't have that information. But if one examines the company's financial performance over the past few years, you would notice a decline. So we're not challenging that.
Yes.
We're not challenging that at all. But we are saying that the company had available to it an opportunity to engage in the union. We were prepared. As a matter of fact, this was communicated to the management to drastically alter our terms and conditions of service if that would facilitate a reversal of the company's business fortune. We even signaled to them a willingness to invest in the company, to invest our own money in the company to execute an upgrade project in one of the facilities that would see an increase in volume and an opportunity to diversify the product mix that we produce locally. You may not know that over the years, the product mix or the product portfolio that we produce locally have been diminished significantly to about now about 4 products in the home care range. And, well, of course, we continue to produce edible oils and fats. But that division of the business was sold by Unilever globally, the spreads business. And that spreads business produced edible oils and fats, as I said before, Golden Ray, Cooking, Blue Band, I Cannot Believe It's Sun Butter, and so on. And so they sold that. And so that as well added to the constricted or contracted, might be a better word, business performance of the organization. So you have to look at the thing in a particular context, right? That the company, when one would have thought that here it is, you have workers, a union, prepared to engage with you in a meaningful way to address issues of our common interest. You refused to do that. And then when you did, in fact, indicate to the union you want to talk in the context of reducing your labor force. But the only area of the labor force that has been targeted is the unionized workforce, right?
Yeah.
So that the company has in its rank, it's reported officially to be about 400, but I believe it's more in the 350 range, right, employees. And this will comprise management persons and unionized workers, right? The unionized workers represent about 285 of that total employee population. And this specific action on the information provided by the company, documented information, this is not anything that I'm making up, any figures I'm pulling off the top of my head, right? They have indicated that they wish to separate some 285 persons, which is the exact amount of persons that are in the unionized workforce.
Interesting.
So that here we have a situation where the company found itself in difficulty. And I should also tell you that they told us specifically that this is not as a consequence of our wages and salaries. In fact, on the last occasion that we met in consultation, they quite emphatically stated that even if we were to work for free, can you imagine that? This situation will not be remedied and they will still have to retrench all of us. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So you have a situation where we are not the source or the reason for the company's business decline. We offered to work with you to address that. You rejected that. And then you're telling us that we must go home and the person who caused the problem in the first place had to be retained.
Does your union down there, the branch representative...
Could you say that again? Because you're coming in a bit broken up. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you a little better now.
Is there any proposals put forward by the representing body there, that would be the OWTU? Is there any proposals put forward to Unilever to perhaps, you know,
mitigate against
avoid retrenchments?
Well, this is it. So let me again put into context, right? So yes, the direct answer to your question is yes. We in fact would have crafted a number of proposals, a number of alternatives for the company's consideration. As I said, included among other things, the change in terms of condition of service, and specifically with respect to wage and salaries. We would have proposed an investment by the workers and the union in a specific aspect of the company's business, right, to do a specific project. I don't want to get into too much details because I don't want to be accused by the company of speaking in public about issues that are internal, right? So I want to be responsible in how I conduct this discussion.
Of course. Yes, of
so
course.
It's a specific program, which program the company, in fact, about a year ago, had conceived and then subsequently shelved, right? And it seems as though the priority became the removal of manufacturing on the site, right?
Yeah.
So we did present to the company for their consideration about 2 weeks ago as part of this process of consultation, some alternatives. Unfortunately, the company's response to us, they really provided no feedback on those specific proposals that we submitted. However, we are expected to continue the process of discussion, and this will begin again. Will resume tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, as a matter of fact. And we are still hopeful. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Are you at liberty to tell me roughly, or if you have the figures, how many workers stand to be possibly retrenched?
Well, the entire unionized workforce.
That is 285 workers.
Exactly. In words infamously made infamous by Mr. Espine, all of the unionized workers are to be retrenched. These are the exact words. This is the information that the company has provided to the union and by extension to the workforce, right? So the issue is that the company intends to remove manufacturing. Now, we have had a rich legacy, a rich history of manufacturing in Trinidad and Tobago dating back to the 1920s. In 1929, there were two indigenous companies, West Indian Oil Industries. I can't remember the name of the top of my head. That was subsequently purchased by Unilever or Lever Brothers, and they were merged somewhere in the 1940s, and the factory was relocated from Waterloo to where we are now in Champlain, somewhere in the 1960s. And this company has produced some legacy brands, Golden Ray, Blue Band. At one time, we produced Flora and Sizola oil, Pepsodent toothpaste, and a host of other things, right? What the company has done over the years is that they have reduced over time the manufacturing component. And now we have what is called a home care division and a spreads business, right? The spreads haven't been sold, and we now manufacture the spreads product on behalf of a company called Upfield. And the other brands, the other Unilever brands, we continue to produce Breeze, Radiante, and Quick dishwashing liquid, right? So they have reduced and have transformed into a sort of importation business. And what this action that we are now talking about is meant to really be is the final nail in the coffin of manufacturing of Unilever products in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, wow, that is very heartbreaking. How is the staff dealing with this tragic news?
Well, as you would imagine, there is a high sense of anxiety, uncertainty about their future. I mean, if I am to be frank, right, there are some of us, I might, like myself, who, because of my age, there are the consequences on me in terms of if certain things are put in place, like my pension is preserved, which is a major issue and so on, then the impact may be less. let's be frank, because I don't want people to believe that we're trying to say sensationalize. But when taking in the context that the average age of the worker in Unilever is probably about, let's say, the mid-30s, maybe 35. These are young persons, men and women, in the productive years of their lives. Quite a bit of the workers at Unilever have been here for some time, quite some time, right? And now these persons are now to be added to the many, many thousands of persons who are without jobs in an economy that is not producing any more jobs. And here we have a major player in the manufacturing sector basically saying to the country as a whole, that while we have enjoyed the competitive advantage that you have provided us, a mature workforce, skilled workforce, easy and cheap energy, and the waivers and so on, in terms of what the government would have provided to support manufacturing business. While we have enjoyed all of that, and we have added, it is reported in the international press that Unilever does an annual turnover of some 50-point-something billion euros.
Yeah.
And we would have contributed to that. And if you examine the company's financial performance, it is not that Unilever is not turning a profit, Unilever Caribbean Limited. It is not that they are not turning a profit, We are advised that they are not operating at a certain level of profitability that Unilever has set as a benchmark. So that irrespective of the fact that we continue, if you look at it today's, I think the shares traded just above $25 today. And last week they enjoyed an increase of some 98 cents, right, in terms of the share being appreciated, the value of the share. So the company is doing relatively well when taken into context.
Yeah.
However, this is insufficient for the powers that be in the Unilever world that make decisions. And as a consequence of that, an entire workforce are to be the sacrificial lamb. So that irrespective of the fact that we have right now 14 of our comrades who, because of their willingness to work in conditions that are less than ideal, are now home on injury leave. Yesterday I spoke to a young man who called me. This young man has been on injury leave for almost a year. He was begging the company to send him for an MRI. They declared him fit to work. We were able to leverage our ability internally to get the company to agree to send him for a second opinion. You know what that young man called me to tell me yesterday? That the MRI demonstrated that he has three bulges, small bulges in the disc in his neck, in his spine, but closer to the neck. And we have quite a bit of workers. We had a worker who recently did a surgery, was struck by a forklift on the side. He had been home for 2 years. He too was begging for an MRI. The company delayed that process that resulted in the injury escalating. He had to do surgery. His recovery time is about a year and something, and this action that the company is contemplating, this retrenchment, will occur before the end of the year. What is to become of those guys?
Yeah.
Those 14 persons whose situation now in terms of access to jobs, alternative jobs and so on, is going to be compromised by injuries that they sustain here. And Unilever's concern is, well, listen, we're not making the levels of profit that we want, so here we're going on. We go on.
I'm sure that's not the first option they had.
Say again?
I said, I'm sure that's not the first option they had to, cut back on staff. Had they not looked at some of the proposals that you all gave them, who knows, we would not have had this situation today.
Exactly. Not only that, if they come now, again, and let me just make another point. Now, again, I don't want to be accused of xenophobia.
Yeah.
However, this situation with the company was, in my respect with you, escalated with the advent of a particular foreign manager. Fortunately, the company eventually came to their senses and relieved her of her responsibilities. But the company's information is that this decline began about 4 years ago. The exact time that person was placed at the helm of the organization. And we protested, we have been protesting, as a matter of fact, for probably about 2 years. Persons would have seen us on the main road when they're passing every Monday and Friday protesting. And we called for the removal of that personnel because we recognize that the decisions that she was making were amicable to the interests of the organization, right? So the company set itself on a path of decline, would not take advice from workers, would not take advice from some of the local experience, senior management. You check the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm challenging you to do this. Check some of our major competitors, and you would find in senior positions in those organizations people who were working with Unilever, and a lot of these people have gone there within the past 4 years. So people were leaving the organization, they were getting rid of people because they weren't prepared to listen to the collective wisdom of these people who would have contributed to the success of this organization and built something for them. So they came, they destroyed, and now we have to pay the ultimate price. And mind you, there's still one of those individuals here who executed a project, absolute total waste of time. And he is at a very strategic position in the organization relative to this very action that is being executed right now. So that's the unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah.
These people come, they destroy, they leave, they go back to their economies, they're able to sustain themselves, and we in Trinidad and Tobago as a society have to deal with the consequences of their actions. And even at the risk of being accused of xenophobia, I want to make that point because it's important to be made in the context of what is happening. I mean, we know that when we work for a multinational, these are some of the eventualities. Multinationals typically extract as much as they can, contribute as little as they can, and then to use a colloquial term, bust out and leave your hole in the bag, right?
Yeah.
I, myself, have to say that as an employee of Unilever of some 27 and a half years standing, I have enjoyed tremendously my time. I've worked with some excellent people, both local and foreign. I've had the opportunity to develop myself through the efforts of this very organization. So I hold no ill will towards the organization as a whole, but there are some persons whose decision-making ability must be called into question as we navigate through this real challenging period.
All right. Can you just give me your closing comments before we wrap things up?
So what I want to say is this. We use forums like these to really bring to the attention of the national community issues such as this, right? Issues in which real people who live real lives are appeased. I place in situations that none of us want to be placed in. And it's easy to pass and say, well, you know, union people, again, they're given trouble. But you must understand the context of these things. Because ultimately, these decisions impact our society, right? We have to really, as a people, start to identify the ways in which we can develop the indigenous capacity so that there's not this level of reliance on foreign direct investment, right? How we can use the wealth that we have created in our society to develop our nation in a way to diversify away from oil, to have a strong manufacturing sector, to be able to provide jobs and opportunities for the next generation to come.
Yeah. Very, very unfortunate indeed there. Mr. McEachine, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us that development happening down there at Unilever Caribbean. And I do hope that good sense prevails at some point or the other, sooner rather than later.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity this morning to highlight this issue, and I want to thank you again for this opportunity. And I just want to let everybody know that we are resolved. We are very, very resolved to ensure that whatever happens, we can extract the best outcome for ourselves.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, that of course was the branch president of the OWTU Unilever Caribbean president chatting with us this morning on very unfortunate development down at Caribbean Unilever. We've seen recently where UTT has also indicated a possible retrenchment. Now it's Unilever. One can only hope there's something better on the horizon. This is PSA TV. Stay with us.